Let me get started. So what I'm going to talk about is the journey we had that Jeff talked about sort of gave a whole lot of other things that we realized that there was a lot of positive outcomes from programs. And that's basically what my presentation is about. I'd like to think that we should rely more on program, and I'll explain how that is and why. So that's really the important part of my presentation. There's a second part which is about preparing the program, and a third part which is about updating the program. And I like to use first principle thinking as a bit of a background for all of this. So all we try to do is to go back to the basics, to what we know is true. That's first principle thinking. Hopefully I can give you some inspiration to rely more on programs as well, and some practical program solutions. I can hear we've got some senior project managers and program managers with lots of questions. So just put them out if you feel like it, and also some tools to review and to improve programs. Just a little bit about myself. My first program I did was when I was 17. I didn't know anything about programs back then, but my dad was doing a wastewater treatment plant. He was a design engineer, and he also was going to deliver it. And I could code on computers, and he used to draw it. And so he said to me, come into the office, we've got this new computer, had just turned up, first computer, and I could do coding. And so I did a little bit of a program. And the reason he wanted me to do this was, he said, the tasks are always changing, they're always moving. And so the reason I'm telling you this is there's a little bit of a loop till the end. I'm doing now a program project with my son, and it's AI in program, how we can put sections into AI and get a program out. So we'll just spend a couple of minutes on that in the end. Please remind me of that, because it's not in the presentation here. I'm a civil engineer, and I've spent 6 years as a professional badminton coach. And the reason I mention that is a lot of my programming, philosophy is about performance, psychology, and I'll show you that, where that comes from. Teamwork. And the other reason is I came here to New Zealand to coach, and that's why I'm here. So I coached New Zealand, and I coached in Gillisev. In the hall there was a pro shop, and there was a girl working in the pro shop, and I bought too many peanut slabs off her, and the rest is sort of history. So here I am. Been in New Zealand since 2003, and I'm from Denmark. So I've been at Brosnan since 13, and that gap, the 10-year gap, I've been a consultant, and I've been a client rep, and I've had my own construction company in those 10 years. I became a program manager in 2018. Just before I got into that, I project managed this job here. This is a job called Ross Common, a 1.4 hectare building. We didn't work in square meters, there was too many zeros. So 1.4 hectares. And I'll refer back to that in the presentation, so you've got a bit of a picture of it. You can see the two guys here in the lift here, perhaps. So kind of give you the scale of the job. Program manager 2018, and then I became general manager for Brosnan's operation in 2020, and did that for 4 years. And then decided to go to Europe and travel, and sort of pull the plug, if you will. So now I'm back as project manager, and operational analyst is my role. It's a part-time role, and I do some other bits and pieces in my spare time. The job I'm doing at the moment, right now, as a project manager, is Gore Street. Fin removal. You can see there's some fins here that we are taking down. They're rusted, and so we want to take them down before they fall down. Quite a complex little job, 3 months. Quite complex with traffic management, and Gantt trees over roads and so on. And I'll refer back to that as well, so you got a picture of that. So as a program manager, as a program manager, I started creating the governance, the program governance and the standard operational procedures. And that was together with Jeff. We talked a lot about this, and he gave me a lot of input to that. And we got challenged. We've heard one already. Do you only have one program? Well, how do you do that? And questions like, other companies are doing it differently. So how do you know this is true? How do you know this is right? And we probably, to be honest, we probably didn't know at the time, but we thought we knew, and so we started going into this first principle thinking. We wanted to understand what is true, and that's the first principle thinking part. And I just want to go through that just quite quickly. So first principle thinking, there's nothing new about it, but it's actively question the assumptions that you think you know, and then create something new from that. Who follows Elon Musk? Can I just see? Yeah. He talks about first principle thinking quite a lot in what he does, and I've certainly got inspired by him. And he says, establish what we know is true, and then reason up from there. And Aristotle's talked about it as well, so it's at least 2,500 years old, that whole way of thinking. Now, it's the opposite to reasoning by analogy. So when you reason by analogy, it's kind of a lazy way to think or reason. If we say, well, PricewaterhouseCoopers are doing this, whatever it is, so it's got to be good. Well, we don't know. What is it they're doing? And let's find out what they're doing down to the smallest bit. Otherwise, it leads to groupthink, as I'm putting up here. Can you read this? Otherwise, I can read it for you. I don't know where I'm going, but since everyone is here, it's got to be good. Groupthink. One example of, I guess, first principle thinking is estimates. We know what is true. We know 1 unit, the cost of that, and we also know how many units in a tender. And so we reason up from there, and we do that by multiplying and adding all the bits and pieces, and then add a humble percentage in the end. And so what I'd like to talk to you about is a bit of psychology and the first principle thinking in psychology and how that relates to programs. A little bit of science and physics, not too much. A little bit of the legal framework that we have. And I noticed there was quite a few questions on 3910. Quite happy to take them as well. And then a little bit of program science. Well, there is a bit of that, but I try not to get into the technical parts too much. I'm not sure that that has a benefit. I don't want to be like this guy in the checkered shirt here who says, knowing that a forensic program analyst would likely use the collapsed as-built method to establish delays. So I've ensured that delay in my program update were fabricated in the reverse order, or the reverse chronological order. That's impressive, isn't it? I don't know if she thinks it's impressive, but so. So let's get started. Positive outcomes by relying more on programs. First, a program to me is a great tool for planning. I couldn't do complex planning without a program, and the software we use is MS Project, but it could be anything really. I think it's an amazing tool for doing some planning. It also needs to be said that a great program is the outcome of good planning. We can't take away the knowledge that I can see you all have here in your specialist area, the planning, the sequencing, the methodology. That's how often we win tenders. But the program, I guess, is a way to capture it all and communicate it all. So just have that in mind as well. So the positive outcomes, I reckon, provide certainty for our clients, provide a fair outcome for everyone, including subcontractors, and provide increased productivity. I think that's, if we can get these outcomes from our programs, I think it's we've come a long way. Certainty for our clients is the first part, and probably the most important part, I reckon. If you've ever woken up in the middle of the night and sweating and wondering what you're doing, why you work so hard, and what is all this about? Why do we work so hard? And if you can then relate that back to who we work for, who we serve, I think we've come a long way. We're here on this planet to serve people, and at work we serve our clients. They're the ones paying our bills, and I think it's quite a good way to sort of frame things. That is what we do. We try to understand our clients' needs, and we work for them. We need to ensure that the principal hired design, the consultants, the subcontractors, that they have specialist install and deliverables, building consent, and the inspections that are coming, that's all coordinated in with our work, with our subcontractors. And I'm talking, I guess, now as a main contractor, mostly. And that whole certainty is also, our client needs to be sure that we can deliver the methodology, and the program kind of sets that out, hopefully. The next part of the three outcomes that I think is important is a fair outcome for everyone. And I've just mentioned, how many? 8 parties in a contract. So of course our client, we want to make it fair for them, but also for our subcontractors and the main contractor. I think, we know there's a lot of change happening, and there's a lot of risk in projects, and there's also a lot of opportunities. And I think if we can create a program that is fair, how do we do that? I wouldn't mind just, how can we make it fair? How do we make a program fair?
We need to make sure that the promises we're making in the program are actually achievable.
Yes. Yep. No, that's a good point. Yep.
Communicating through the studies so those durations are getting reflected?
Yes. As well. Yep. Yep. Anything else?
Communicating the program to everybody.
Sorry, I heard the motorbike.
Communicating the program to everybody so that the client is aware of what we're trying to achieve, and the guys on site who are delivering the actual work are also aware of what we're trying to achieve.
Yes.
So they understand why have I only got 2 weeks.
Yeah. And I guess one of the advantages, Jeff talked about it, we only have one program, we send it out to our clients and to our subcontractors at the same time, is that we can get together, everyone, and talk about it and see how we can make things better. I also think having logical links that are true, so that we don't just program with some funny constraints or relationships, but we actually do what we think is true, is another thing. Yep, not good. So risk and opportunity analysis is something we do a lot. And when there's delays, we look at the analysis, and I'll just show you an example of that, just a very simple, basic way, but it just sort of shows it. So here's a little program, and I can see, I don't need to explain program too much with the people we have here in the room, but we have got the table side, and we can see we've got an acceptance to do the job, and we have possession of site in line number 3. This program here is baseline, so the grey line is a baseline which doesn't move. This is set, this is a copy of the program. And then we have the red, which is the critical path. Here's the status line, and on the left-hand side, everything is tracked, everything is done. On the right-hand side is all the work that we need to do. Now, we can see here, here's a problem. The east facade needs to start soon, but there's a mistake in the design, and we get a new design. We program what needs to happen after that. It needs to be procured, it needs to be manufactured. We talk to our subbies about that. And then, can people see it's a problem? it doesn't line up, does it? So what do? We just line them. We just line them up. And I know this is very simple, but this is what we do. We just link it, and then we can see that everything moves. And we present that to both our subcontractors and our clients and say, this is kind of worst case scenario. What can we do? And we do that both ways. And because we have one program only, we can talk freely. We can invite subbies into client meetings. We can invite clients into subbie meetings. It's not a problem. What can we do? What do you think? I find this side here, the graphic side, quite easy to look at and find opportunities. But we can see, for instance, the east facade. Perhaps instead of starting with that, maybe we can put that on the back burner as the last bit and then start with the north facade. And so that's an idea, and let's try that. So we just simulated, we put that together. You can see now we've put that back here, and everything else has sort of been moving forward. Suddenly the north facade is what we start with, and in this case here we couldn't start on the same day as the east facade. So we put a milestone in just to talk about it and say, well, the supply of the north facade, how fast can we do that? And we talk, and we can get it here, and you can see that means there's only a 2-day delay instead of a 13-day delay. Suddenly we're down to nothing, or not a lot. And that's how I think we should work and take the, I guess, make it fair for everyone, and every time there's risk, look at it this way. Can we improve? Yeah.
Is this how you reflect your design changes in your program?
Yeah.
Separate line items underneath?
Yes, we have a summary task. I'll show you that later in our template that have got communication, and we put all our 1,000 lines instructions into the program, link it to what we can't do, and it's quite a powerful tool. Quite complex. There's probably a couple of PMs that's not quite there, but yes, that's the intention. Yep.
You just add the task in below.
We can also add the task in below, and we also do that sometimes because then it's easier to see. When you have 1,000 CIs and maybe 100 of them are open, some of them have got a long lead time or float. Suddenly, the other way is better, but you're right. Yeah, we can just put it in next to, and we do that. Yes. Can we do anything else? I think it's very clear here to see that there is potential to move the interior as well. The northwest corner, perhaps. When that's built, we can start the interior. Perhaps we don't know, but you know, there's still room for moving it back. So this is, and we can only do this because everything is done with proper links and no constraints, and one program showing what's true, I guess.
So your float is open to everybody and negotiable.
The float is open and negotiable to everyone. Yes. There's not a lot of float in this program, but I'll get back to that later. And I think that's also what, if we ever sort of got into a dispute, that would be what an arbitrator would say, that float belongs to those who take it. And that's probably, I don't want to be the guy in the checkered shirt, so if we...
If you're late on an activity that's not on the critical path.
Sorry again?
If you're late on an activity that's not on the critical path, you still put in a delay?
Yes, we put a delay even if an activity is not on the critical path, yes. And we update everything. We'll get back to updating programs later. Yes. Okay. Can I move on to productivity? So that's the last one. Probably, I don't know, just as important. And I think, well, very important for our economy altogether, not just Brosnan, but as a country. And here's our template, by the way. So our template has been set up with, for instance, all 3910's deliverables. It's already there. So when a project manager downloads that, it's there. And that's managing scope, I guess, in a good way. We haven't got building scope so far, but at least we've got all these deliverables, like quality plan, health and safety plan, signing the contract, which is actually what you can see here. That's the signing of the contract. But yeah, everything should be in here. The other thing in our template is that we have got a whole lot of work on the project planning, for instance, where we can open this up, the shop drawing tab here we can open up, and we get a whole list of suggested shop drawing pieces. And when we open up structural steel, we get a suggested way that this is going to happen. And of course, we need to look at the specs and the 3910 and see how we need to do this, and we change that accordingly. Our client side is also mentioned in our template, and so they can perhaps manage their scope better and give their part, approve the health and safety plan, the quality plan, and what else they need to do, and design, of course. The other, I think, another positive outcome of program could be we can get better at quality. I'll show you how. So here we've got a bit of a quality problem. We've got mud that gets dragged into the carpets, and that happens a lot. Jeff asked me to say this is not one of our jobs, so I guess we have a QA management system, and it talks about master defect and construction monitoring register, so we can log it there. But once you start doing that, we need to maintain that. We need to check it off when it's done, and so it's not really good productivity or way to produce. We can also protect the carpets. There's a cost in that, or it could be rework. We could have to replace the carpet. Not the best way. Also, mud slows you down. If there's a lot of it, there's not a lot there, but if there's a lot of it, it's not very good. It also gets into your ute, and it's not good for morale. Who wants to walk around in mud? No one. And so the program solution to this is to schedule the gutters and the downpipes straight after installing the roof sheets, for instance. And also try to program so that the outdoor surfaces follow the indoor. So when the carpets are on the inside, the carpets are also on the outside in terms of asphalt. So we can do a lot, and we see other companies do it differently, where the building is pretty much done, and we're doing defects on the outside. It's like a mess. So definitely something we can change by looking at planning the job. And here's who talked about the communication. So here's in our template there's a summary task with communication, so we can log that in under that. We can link it to the task we can't do, which means we get a real-time float. It's not just the contractor saying you've now got 5 days to fix this, Mr. Designer. We can actually see how long time it takes before it pushes the critical path. Who owns the float? Probably the project. An example of communication, the program being a communication tool is from real life. This is not very long ago, actually. This is probably from late May, where we took down the fins on this side here. And the way we did that was we built the crane up on level 35, so a crane with hoist and a beam and everything going out, and then hooked it up to these fins, and then took them down. Abseilers, you can see the abseilers there on the outside going down. That, of course, is very quite weather dependent. So we had, it was important for us to capture all these weather delays. And imagine being, who's consultants here? Who works for company. Yes. Yep. Imagine going to the client and saying, well, the task that we were planning to finish here actually finishes out here. But here are the reasons. You can see it here. It's very clear. I find it's good communication. On top of that, these ATC numbers is a reference to our communication system. So you can go in here, and here's the project manager have sent a note on the day saying it's raining or it's windy, because when it's windy, we can't abseil. And in that piece of information here, there's also there's a lot of data on the weather, so that's sitting in behind as well.
How have you displayed that in the contract program? Did you smack your allocated days on the back end and move it around the program, or did you separate the calendar?
So, yeah, good question. So we, in this case, and I think that's very dependent on the project managers that we work with. So on this job, we say, here's the program. I guess it's a pure 3910. Any delays will push the job out if there's inclement weather. The only thing that was a bit different on this job was that we had said, because of the type of work here, we need to get paid for these weather delays. There's no way that we could make it work without that. So that was just a small change. Was that answering?
Yeah, kind of, but in your program, did you have, so let's just use 10 days, did you smash 10 days at the end and consume it, or did you have a separate working calendar for inclement that you applied to certain tasks that affected, that distributed it throughout the program to give a...
Yeah, now 3910 says that you put the contract works in and you have a PC date, and every time you get delayed, you just move the PC date. So we haven't done that. We do have contingency though, but that's probably a little bit different.
So you had floating those tasks originally?
No float in the tasks. But I guess, yes, if we were asked to take the risk of the weather, we would have had a longer duration, and our job would have taken same time, and we would probably have been paid upfront more. Now we just say this is best guess, and every time we get delayed, we get paid, and it's it's documented. It's 10 o'clock. The site manager rings the engineer to the contract. He sends through texts. All that's done, and then the project manager sends through that piece of information on the day at about 12 o'clock. Yeah. It's a lot of good questions. Health and safety. I also believe that we can improve our health and safety if we look at our program and program better. And again, this is not one of our jobs. You can see I've actually just taken it down from LinkedIn. You might recognize the job, but here's a trench, and it's open, and there's some boards going across, and that I guess is a hazard. Our health and safety management approach to hazards is that we try to control it. The top one is we try to eliminate it. That's very difficult now. So we really need to get all the way down to engineering and design. We need to perhaps put some barriers up, or instead of just having a piece of 4x2, maybe have a proper crossing with a handrail. Again, it's expensive. It's not good for productivity. So the approach, I guess, we try is the time management approach. We schedule earthworks, trenches, sidewise services before the building works. And this is not so common. Who does that? So no one does that. So there's a couple of people doing that. Yes, it's quite a good way to work. And we often hear when we suggest that you can't do that because we haven't engaged the drain layer and so on. But it's just a matter of just moving that a bit further and say, look, the first thing we need to do is to get the drain layer on the job procured, and then out on the job. So it's only a matter of planning and doing it well. there's other advantages with it, but for instance, if we put in the stormwater pipe early, as soon as the roof goes on, we can put the downpipe in and put it straight into the stormwater. We've got it managed straight away. So I hope that was sort of a little bit about some positive outcomes in relying more on programs. I hope you have sort of picked up a couple of things there. I think we need to work a lot more on relying on our programs. The second part of my presentation is about preparing the program, and I'll put like 4 corners up that I think is important. We talked a lot. The questions were down here before to Jeff, and there will be space for that. I won't touch too much on the sort of construction side. We are all perhaps specialists in our own areas. I've done one post tension of a floor in my life, and when I had to do that, it took me quite a long time. I guess people become specialists in that, and then they're much better at that. I can perhaps do other things. Here's all the checkered shirt stuff, where we can start talking about that, and I will talk about that. First, I'd like to talk about some psychology and some performance models that I hope could give some inspiration. So, my view is that a program is a goal, and we all know about goal setting. I'd like to test your knowledge on goal setting. What's S in the SMART goal acronym? Specific. Is this specific? I think we can say that. What's M? Measurable. Yes, we can measure this. What's A? Yes, achievable. And I guess that is, you look at the program, you can see the footings go in before what comes on top of that, and then the cladding comes on before the interior work, and it's achievable. It looks all right. Let's take T. T is time related, isn't it? So that should be very clear. Yep. And then R, realistic. This is the one I think we can talk quite a lot about. We need to make these plans realistic. And I'd like you to go to this, have a look at this performance model here. We need to have the right pressure on the job for people to perform, from project manager to the labor who sweeps out the floors. We can come in and have too much time, and that's not a good thing. Oh, I forgot the designers as well. We need that pressure on designers as well, so they deliver on time. Too much pressure is not good. An unrealistic program is not good. And I guess this is the art, is to find out where that is. And I would say, with my experience, I would say most jobs we can squeeze. If we plan it well, we can squeeze it. There's money out there to be made by being organized and planned. There's no doubt. And you might say, well, we're always running around in the end, and it doesn't work, Karsten. And that's true. But it's a matter of planning things, in my view. Rita May says, if it wasn't for last minute, nothing would be done. I'd like to ask you, where's last minute on this program? Anyone? To me, last minute is in every single task. And if you have, I've been a site manager. I started my career in construction as a site manager. If you have a good site manager, he would know or she would know that if we get things done from the beginning on time and just push and get it done, when we get to commissioning and practical completion, it's a bit more easy. So last minute is all the way through. My next model is a team building model. I guess the 5 dysfunctions of a team. Who have heard about that? It's a book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Anyone? One. Excellent. Do you use it? Do you like it?
We've just done it at a conference actually.
Ah, yeah, okay. So I've always worked in this sort of model, I would say. But we had a presentation by Sue Corn-Taylor, and she's if you know her, she goes around and talks about all sorts of mental stuff. She showed this to us, and as soon as I saw that, I go, yep, this is how I work, and now I can articulate what it is I'm doing, and now I also know where I am in this model. And the model says that to create results, we need to have everyone accountable. We need to be accountable to each other, because when we are accountable to each other, we get these results. No one wants to be accountable before they've committed to something. Why don't you go out for a run? Or I haven't said I would. Well, it's difficult to hold someone accountable to something they haven't committed to. To commit to something, we need to discuss it. If not anything else, then at least in our own head. But often there's a bit of a discussion. There's some conflict, and the conflict often ends up being opportunities. So we shouldn't be afraid of that part. And I'll show you an example of this, and you can tell me how far we are. This is the steel job for Roscommon. So that's the Roscommon Road Master Program. This is the third iteration in 2 days with the steel erectors. And we couldn't, in the beginning, we could not sort of capture it in just one go. So we did 3 times, and they were still not happy after the second time. So we did this third one. And here's the QS writing and saying, further to discussions with Karsten, please find the updated program attached. We don't need to go into details, but here you can see we changed things around, and I learned something about steel erection of quite a big, that was probably my biggest subcontract package in steel. So I learned things, and we gave and took a little bit, and eventually we got there, and we agreed. Where are we at on that model, do you reckon? Discussion. Yep. And we were just at the end of it. Just at the end, if you read what is set up there, said, if you're happy with this, we can sign a contract. We're quite happy now to sign a contract. And the next day, pretty much, we both committed. And we signed a contract with that program in it. And now we can start holding each other accountable. And I guess this is a two-way thing. So we can hold the manufacturer of steel, the shop drawing process, the whole erection. We can hold them to account that they follow our program. And they can also hold us to account that we do what we need to do in the program. And that's how we get results. Well, it's one way of getting it. This can, of course, be used between clients and main contractor. It can actually be used just for yourself. If you want to get fit, you need to hold yourself accountable. So you need to commit to something. 2 runs a week. Well, you might have some discussions, and I've got a sore knee, well, I will do 2, and then we get the results. So you can work all the way down to just yourself. But it's a good team building model to use. We use this for drainage and structural steel, as I said, precast roof and cladding and earth moving in just 2 weeks. And we did it for probably 10 other subbies further along. And did we set proactive goals with the end in mind? Yes, that's what we try to do. Did we actively seek and help from others to make progress? Yes, we did, or progress. It was a journey of continuous improvement. The program got better and better. It got more and more detail, and it got commitment from all these subbies. And what about the ability to grow and learn? We had that part as well. And that means we're in that sort of growth mindset part. And this is something we try to do in the business. And Jeff has said it will be really good if we can sort of push the growth mindset. We can all grow. The business is growing, and we can grow with it rather than the fixed mindset. So this is Carol Dweck have written this book about mindsets. Who knows about this? Oh, yeah, a couple of people. Good. Yeah, awesome. And that's the end of my first part. So coffee break now.